Hey friends, welcome back to Thought of the Day, where we are exploring what does following Jesus and the coronavirus pandemic look like. So, I'm sure a lot of you have been thinking a lot about control over the past 2 months, mainly about how you feel like you've lost a lot of it. And I'm definitely there with you. And I think really most of the world is, and I think that is a big reason of what has made this time just so difficult, is because everybody feels like they've lost control. And as we're kind of coming into this conversation of possibly looking at reopening and doing that slowly and phasing back out and things like that, but I just wonder if in that conversation we are just rushing back to get to life as normal, in that we're just rushing back to get all the control that we feel like we've lost. And I wonder if actually God was trying to teach us something in removing all of this control. And I wonder if he was trying to teach us humility and to teach us that the control that we thought was ours is in fact an illusion, and it was never ours to begin with. I was reading in Ezekiel this week, and Ezekiel was a prophet, and at one point he receives this prophecy from God about Egypt. It's a prophecy of destruction, and God lists out reasons why he is going to destroy Egypt. And one of them, he says, is because Pharaoh has said that the Nile is his and he made it for himself. So Pharaoh made the Nile. And this will now be the downfall of Egypt. It will be destroyed because of this arrogance. And at first, I was like, oh, Pharaoh, that's kind of dumb, because clearly you didn't make a river. But then I actually stopped and thought, and was like, well, what else do I think I made? And what do I think that I control? And what do I think is made for me? Because whenever we are acting out of control, we carry around with us arrogance and entitlement. Whenever we act as though or feel the need to be in control, we will manipulate a situation or people into being what we want them to be rather than accepting them for who they are. When we feel like we have to be in control all the time, we can't rest, because if we stop, then our project will fail, because we are the source of all life when we are in control. When we are in control, we will protect something, not because we value the thing itself, but because we are receiving some kind of affirmation or value or worth from it. And we will protect that thing at all costs. We will protect that thing at the cost of oppression. We will protect that thing that we are in control of at the cost of injustice. And those things are not the way of Jesus. Jesus calls us to a life of humility and to a life of surrender. Jesus calls us to be grateful for things, and Jesus calls us to be generous with them and not to hoard them. So we know we aren't supposed to be in control. We aren't God, and we didn't create the river. We didn't even create our own body. But we also know that we're not supposed to be passive or idle and just ask God for his kingdom to come but do nothing about it. God does call us to partner with him. So how do we partner with him without thinking that we're in control? And this middle ground is called stewardship. And so as a steward, I recognize that I didn't create things, and in fact everything is a gift to me. It's all been given to me. My very own body was given to me, which is it's a little philosophical. And so if I am able to see everything is a gift and I am just receiving, then I'm able to be grateful for things, and I'm able to accept things the way they are instead of needing to manipulate them. Whenever I'm a steward, I am generous with what I've been given because I realize it's a gift. I'm not entitled to it, but I'm given it and it's good, and I want to share that with as many people. Whenever I'm a steward, I'm able to rest because I know that I'm not the creator or the sustainer, and that I will go back to work with that thing because God has called me to partner with that and to help it flourish and make it more beautiful, to be fruitful and multiply, if we will, in the language of Genesis. But I realize that I am not the one keeping it in motion, and so I can rest in the Creator. Whenever I'm a steward, I can protect something because I love the value of that thing itself, and so I protect it from injustice and I protect it from abuse, not protect it by abusing other things. So we see that it's crucial that we learn to walk with humility. Because if we are to be people who grow in love, if we are to be people who learn to be more like Jesus, then we cannot see ourselves as in control. We have to understand that we were made in the image of God, but we are not God. That we are called to partner with God, but we are simply the receiver of gifts, and we steward things well, but we are not the sustainer. So I have a little prayer exercise just to help you kind of process through and maybe recognize some areas that you are holding so tightly on to control and where you need to walk with open fists. So my recommendation is 1, get to the beach. If at all possible, I think the beach is probably the best spot to do this exercise. If not, it's a prayer, and so of course you can do it anywhere, but I recommend the beach. So if you're there on the beach, and if you're not, just imagine you are. And just watch wave after wave come in. Come in, go out. They come in, and they go out. I'm just going to let your body settle there, just for however long that takes to settle. And once you've kind of gotten the rhythm and the pace and the cadence of the waves, start to think about the thing that you so desperately want control over. The thing that brings you anxiety whenever you don't have control over it. The thing that frustrates you when you feel like you don't have control over it. Or the thing that makes you really insecure just at the thought of not being able to control it. Now, once you have that in mind, just think about how God has set in motion the waves. That He created the ocean and the shore, and He created the waves and the tides that come in day and night, day and night. And how He is faithful to bring in every wave and carry it back out. So as you recognize that that is the God that you are talking to, surrender the thing that you want control over to Him. And as you do, ask Him, how do I go back into that situation? Or how do I go back into that relationship as a steward? How do I accept it with gratitude? How am I to be generous with the gifts You've given me? How am I to seek to love people and show compassion in that situation as a steward and not as a tyrant in control? And just listen for what He tells you, and then be faithful to do that. And as we all do this, we will become more and more like the people that Micah says our God requires, and that is those who act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with their God.